JCPenney was founded by James Cash Penney. How appropriate that a guy whose name is two-thirds monetary words founded a department store. Born in Missouri, Penney relocated to Colorado under the advice of a doctor for a better climate. In 1889, he worked for Thomas Callahan and Guy Johnson, who owned the dry goods line Golden Rule with locations in Colorado and Wyoming. Callahan and Johnson asked Penney to join them in opening a new Golden Rule store. Using money from savings and a loan, Penney joined the partnership and moved with his wife and infant son to Kemmerer, Wyoming, to start his own store, opening on April 14, 1902, exactly 10 years prior to the Titanic sinking. That first year, the store had sales totaling $2,800, which is about $100,000 in today's money. Penney participated in the creation of 2 more stores and purchased full interests in all 3 locations when Callahan and Johnson dissolved their partnership in 1907. In 1909, Penney moved his company headquarters to Salt Lake City to be closer to banks and railroads. By 1912, Penney had 34 stores across the Rocky Mountain states. In 1913, the company was incorporated under the new name JCPenney Company, with William Henry McManus as co-founder. In 1914, the headquarters was moved to New York City to simplify buying, financing, and transportation of goods. By 1917, 15 years after opening the first store, the company operated 175 stores in 22 states. In 1922, the company's oldest active private brand, Big Mac Work Clothes, was launched. JCPenney opened its 500th store in 1924 in Hamilton, Missouri, James Cash Penney's hometown. By the opening of the 1,000th store in 1928, gross business had reached $190 million, equivalent to $3.24 billion in 2023. In just 26 years, JCPenney had opened 1,000 stores, which is an average of 38 per year, and hit sales of over $3 billion in today's value. The company was listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 1929. By comparison, the first Sears department store didn't open until 1925, as they were focused on their catalog game. Here's a retail history fact I love. In 1940, Sam Walton began working at a JCPenney in Des Moines, Iowa. Walton would, of course, go on to found Walmart in 1962. By its 25th anniversary in 1927, the company had 773 stores and sales of $115 million, about $2 billion today. The middle of the 20th century was a major boom for JCPenney. By 1941, the brand operated 1,600 stores across the contiguous United States. Mr. Penney retired in 1946, although his conservative policies remained influential for at least another decade. Employees who were known to use tobacco or liquor, even in private, were fired. Annual sales surpassed $1 billion in 1952, with the company employing 70,000 associates. In 1956, they started a national advertising campaign with a series of advertisements in Life magazine. JCPenney credit cards were first issued in 1959. JCP opened their first full-line department store in Audubon, New York in 1961. These stores offered everything the prior format did, but also included appliances, sporting goods, tools, lawn and garden, beauty salons, portrait studios, and auto centers. In 1963, the first JCP catalog was issued. Also in the 60s, JCP expanded to Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico. The store in Anchorage featured the city's first public parking garage. However, the company's Hawaiian presence was short-lived, as all store locations closed in 2003. making it the only state in the U.S. to not have a JCPenney store. James Cash Penney died in February 1971. All stores were closed the morning of his funeral. That same year, the company's revenue reached $5 billion, almost $38 billion in today's money. And the catalog business made a profit for the very first time. JCPenney reached its peak number of stores in 1973, with a total of 2,053 stores, 300 of which were the full-line establishments. By 1977, annual sales reached $10 billion, or $50 billion in today's dollars. JCP stores began accepting Visa and MasterCard in 1979 and 1980, respectively. In 1983, 22 years after launching the concept, the company discontinued its appliance, hardware, outdoor equipment, and auto center departments, and also sold its automobile centers to Firestone. That same year, fashion designer Roy Halston signed a 6-year, $1 billion deal with JCPenney to sell a line of affordable clothing, accessories, cosmetics, and perfumes, ranging in price from $24 to $200. The move was considered controversial then, as no other high-end designer up to that point in time had licensed their designs to a mid-price retailer. The line, named Halston 3, would not last long, as it was poorly received and discontinued after about 5 years. However, the business move paved the way for other such high-end designers to sell their products at stores of varying price ranges in the future. In 1984, JCPenney acquired the First National Bank of Harrington, Delaware, and renamed it JCPenney National Bank. With the acquisition of the bank, the company became able to issue its own MasterCard and Visa cards. They also began accepting American Express that same year. In April 1987, the company announced it was moving its headquarters to Plano, Texas, with construction on the building finishing in 1992. By the mid-80s, all JCPenney stores had discontinued sales of firearms. Before this point, JCP carried rifles and shotguns branded as JCPenney, but produced by numerous established firearms manufacturers. After Sears closed its catalog business in '93, JCPenney became the last catalog retailer in the United States. In 1989, the company launched its internet store. During the 80s and 90s, they also opened stores in Italy, Chile, Mexico, and Indonesia, but all were short-lived due to different financial reasons. By its 100th birthday in 2002, Penney's had 1,075 stores across the US, Puerto Rico, and Mexico, and employed 267,000 associates. Annual sales come in at $14.8 billion, about $25 billion in today's dollars. Their website becomes the largest online retailer of apparel and home furnishings. 2007 saw the partnership of JCP and Sephora. Their catalog business held on all the way until 2009. On February 12, 2011, the New York Times exposed the company's use of link schemes, spamdexing, to increase JCPenney's website's ranking in Google search results, especially during the holiday season. Doug Pierce, an expert in online search from Blue Fountain Media, described the optimization as, quote, the most ambitious attempt to game Google search results that he has ever seen. Google took retaliatory action and drastically reduced the visibility of JCPenney in the search results. Although the retailer denied any involvement, it fired its search engine consulting firm, SearchDex. Ron Johnson, former senior VP of retail operations at Apple, became CEO in June 2011, and he implemented something called Fair Square pricing policy, which eliminated sales and promotions. On December 7, 2011, JCPenney purchased 16.6% of Martha Stewart Living stock. JCP planned to put mini Martha Stewart shops in many of its stores in 2013, as well as create a website with Martha Stewart Living. In January 2012, the company's chief operating officer at the time, Michael Kramer, revealed to the Wall Street Journal that more than 30% of the bandwidth of JCPenney's headquarters was used for the viewing of YouTube videos during that month alone. Kramer consequently laid off 1,600 employees to change the company's workplace culture. In June, company president Michael Francis left JCPenney after only 8 months. In July 2012, the company announced it was laying off 350 more workers at its headquarters. CEO Johnson was fired in April 2013 after 17 months with the company. According to an article in Time, he alienated core customers by removing coupons and sales and misread the JCPenney brand by wanting to add coffee shops and boutiques inside the stores. The company reported $4.8 billion of long-term debt in 2016, highly leveraged, and high levels of inventory, which continue to impact the bottom line. With this video being made in 2023, JCP's real downfall happened largely only in the past 10 years. While the years of 2000 to 2013 weren't great, the company managed to maintain a positive bottom line. In 2014, they closed 33 stores, laying off 2,000 employees. 2015 saw the closure of 39 stores, losing another 2,200 employees. In January 2017, JCPenney sold its headquarters campus and the surrounding land in Plano, Texas, to a Opportunity Partner Group as a leaseback sale to maintain operations at the location. The land has since been broken up and/or sold or developed. Space inside the headquarters building has also been subleased. Also in 2017, 2 distribution centers and 138 stores closed. By closing stores and distribution facilities, JCP would redirect resources to help expand its store-in-store Sephora boutiques and add Nike and Adidas boutiques, similar to what Macy's has done with Finish Line, Lids, and Lens Crafters. 2018 was a really bad year. In May, JCP reported an adjusted loss of $69 million in the first quarter, even worse than the Wall Street predicted, and lowered its projections for the year overall. Sales fell 4%, also missing estimates. The company lowered its earnings forecast for the first year to 13 cents per share at best, and said it could lose as much as 7 cents. JCPenney finished the quarter with just $181 million in cash, down from $363 million just a year ago. Just days later, the company announced the resignation of their CEO, Marvin Ellison, who had started less than 4 years prior. On December 26, the stock price of JCPenney fell below $1 per share. This was the first time shares fell below $1 ever in their 110-year history of the company, which again started trading on the New York Stock Exchange in 1929. The stock fell 68% over the course of 2018, including a 30% drop in December 2018 alone. 2019 brought the closing of 27 more stores and an announcement of 4% decline in the same-store sales during the 2018 holiday quarter. In May, the company reported a net sales decline of 5.6% and a net loss of $154 million for its first quarter in 2019. On March 15, 2020, In conjunction with government lockdown orders, JCP closed all of its stores and furloughed its employees. It began to reopen a limited number of stores with restrictions at the beginning of May, and by June 17th, nearly all locations had reopened. JCPenney became the fourth major national retailer to file for bankruptcy on May 15, 2020. Along with its filing, a plan to close an additional 242 stores was announced. JCP largely blamed their bankruptcy on COVID, but I think that was a very convenient excuse. Days earlier, it was reported in a regulatory filing that JCP would give bonuses totaling nearly $10 million to the company's senior managers, which included $4.5 million to CEO Jill Solta, even though she was fired at the end of December. After 91 years, the company was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange on May 18, 2020. At the time of its bankruptcy filing, JCPenney had 850 stores and about 90,000 employees. JCP has had 5 CEOs since 2010: Myron Ullman, Ron Johnson, Marvin Ellison, Jill Solta, and Mark Ronson, each lasting between 2 and 3 years. On September 9, 2020, Brookfield Property Partners and Simon Property Group agreed to purchase JCPenney for about $800 million, including $300 million in cash and assuming $500 million of debt, which was later approved by the court in November. It had been established that once the company emerges from bankruptcy, it is poised to save nearly 60,000 jobs, according to various independent studies. The company was paying $2.4 million in monthly rent at the time it sold its headquarters offices in Plano, Texas. However, the location was permanently vacated in November 2020. The company returned to that location just a few months ago in July 2023. Throughout its history, the company has held a long list of private brands to include St. John's Bay, Arizona Gene Company, Worthington, and Liz Claiborne. According to Scrape Hero, as of June 2023, there were 667 stores in the U.S., with the most locations being in Texas. JCPenney's 2 largest mall landlords, Simon and Brookfield, are its shareholders, along with Authentic Brands, which owns a collection of more than 40 brands. Some of those brands, such as Sports Illustrated athletic apparel, Juicy, Forever 21 Junior's fast fashion, are now sold in JCPenney stores. The group purchased JCPenney out of bankruptcy in December 2020. It now has $485 million in long-term debt and liquidity of $1.5 billion. Long-term debt was reduced by $500 million in December 2021. I normally keep my videos fact-based, but I wanted to share my thoughts on the brand, having been in so many locations. I think their merchandise overall is good for their audience. They're not Dillard's or Nordstrom, and they know it. They're not trying to act higher end and alienate shoppers. I do think their locations need a makeover. Everything is drab and boring. The floor tile and the carpet are old and bland. The lack of wall or floor design makes it feel like you're shopping in someone's basement. They need to add color, interesting setups. Just make it feel like a fun store to be in and entice customers to want to come inside. And play some dang music. Every JCP is silent, which just adds to that creepy basement vibe. Personally, I think JCP has a fighting chance at a positive future. The store closures and elimination of the debt will definitely help. As long as they can stay focused on what they're good at and who their audience is, they might be okay. Although, with about 2/3 of their locations being in malls, factors outside of their control might put them back under.